If you do Facebook organic marketing strategies and you're selling in Messenger or trying to book people on the phone so that you can sell high ticket courses, coaching, consulting programs, or digital affiliate products, there is nothing more frustrating than having someone ghost you, right? This is where you put a ton of time and effort into a conversation, into a lead, thinking that they may purchase, and silence. They disappear, okay? When this starts to happen consistently, it is very, 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 very frustrating, all right? Most people go into this emotional panic. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to deal with it. So in this video, I'm gonna break down for you a number of strategies and tactics that you can use to significantly reduce the amount of times that you get ghosted selling in Facebook Messenger for your organic marketing strategies, okay? We are gonna cover stuff like what do you say and do in your content before the conversation even starts so that you can reduce the number of people that ghost you, right? How do you get the power of reciprocity working for you to reduce this number, right? How do you get permission to pitch, right, with this one question that we call the honor code question to drastically increase the number of people that respond after they see your offers, okay? And then a whole bunch of other things, right? What we're about to jump into is a recording from a training that I delivered to a private community with some of my clients. And it's also delivered with two other guys, Chris and Jamie, who helped me run that program. Respectively, they're sales and copywriting experts in their own right. And this entire training is around strategies to fight people who ghost you in Facebook Messenger. Okay, so if that's something that you've struggled with, if that's something that's frustrating you right now, watch this entire training and then go and implement everything. And I know you're going to get a ton out of it. I know you're going to drastically shift your results when it comes to Facebook Messenger, which is ultimately going to mean you make a lot more money. All right, before we cut over to that, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, check out that first link in the description. That's going to take you over to my website where you can enter your information and get a video about how we help people with their information business, courses, coaching, consulting, digital affiliate products, and how they do it writing anywhere from 200 to 500 words of content per day to keep the entire machine ticking along, and then how we take this up to $50,000 plus per month. There's some really cool stuff over there, so I recommend you go and check that out, right? But with all that stuff out of the way, let's cut over to the video. You're gonna see myself, Jamie, Chris, and we're gonna go into all the goodies about how do you fight ghosts in Facebook Messenger so that you can crush it with Facebook organic marketing in 2022. I'll see you all there. Cheers.
I know this is a problem and point of frustration for a lot of people. So we kind of brought our heads together around this one and came up with eight points. 8 points that you can that we can talk about. So Ina's saying, I'm still looking for clarity on what to post in the target group. I assume you mean in other groups. I've always said I don't feel that is like absolutely critical in terms of the parts of the action plan. I don't feel like that's up there in terms of being hyper important. But if you think about it, what's the group about, right? You need to post stuff that's relevant to that group. That's why that community has been formed. That's why the person that's running the group has created the community, obviously for their own benefit from a monetization perspective, but you need to contribute something to it. And by that, it's either an opinion or a question or a piece of valuable content or a story, right? Like it's the same as posting in your own group about a topic or posting on your profile about a topic, assuming I'm interpreting your question correctly.
And what I would say is, like, social media has the memory of a goldfish. And so if you take things that you post on your timeline or your group or whatever a couple of weeks back, it's improbable. People are going to like cast judgment upon if you're recycling that stuff in groups. So I guess the point being that I wouldn't overthink it. I think it's more important just to get it kind of done and out there, so to speak.
Yeah. But if you've got a couple of communities where your ideal customer sits, right? I think, if you can become if you can become a really active member of that group and actually help out. So I think this is where people kind of go wrong with it. And I don't know if it's explained this way in the training or not, but like if I saw, let's assume, Jamie and I don't have the working relationship that we already have, right? And I saw someone in his group ask a question, or I saw someone in his group posting spam, or I saw someone talking about a topic or whatever, right? I think the way you want to approach it is like, if you pick a couple, and maybe five is too many for people, maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 to start, right? 2 or 3 quality groups that are active. They've got a good, reputable leader. If you immerse yourself in that group and kind of put your hand up and acknowledge, like, yeah, okay, this may not yield me any immediate dividends the time I'm spending in here, but two things can happen, right? Like, for example, if someone came into my group and was particularly helpful and they weren't doing it where they were commenting and clearly trying to just pull people away, right? Or they weren't just leaving posts that were clearly just to bait people away. I think people go into groups thinking, how the fuck can I hoard all the members for my group, right? Or for my profile. If you flip that, right? If you flip that and go, okay, especially if the person running the group is someone you look up to, or they've achieved what you want to achieve, if you genuinely go in there and help them out, right? Like Scott, who does our support, he was like an unpaid moderator in our group for a very, very long time, right? And because of that, he was on my radar. So then when we needed tech help, he was like who I went to. And I don't see many people doing this. Right? I don't see many people going in there and I'm not saying you have to work for free. I'm just saying if you want to narrow in on a couple of groups and be like genuinely helpful to the person running it, they're going to be appreciative of it. But you need to do it in a way that's not, just in your interests. Right.
What I see a lot of people doing is just specifically in my group at least anyway, they'll just dump a bit of content and then they have zero engagement in the community. They are not active. They never comment on anything. And it's not that, you don't have to like just be always commenting on the group owner or the moderator's content. It's not about that. It's just that if you're an active member of that community, it's not just the posts that you put that are value posts, all that sort of stuff that are going to get attention. It is the comments. Case in point, it was a sale I made not that long ago where I had commented in someone else's group, an effective comment and wherever it was, and they followed the paper trail to my profile, befriended me, reached out, so on and so forth. And I guess the point of that is if you are looking at, I guess, the idea of omnipresence, to an extent, your leads are going to end up being in the same sort of places more or less type thing. And so they're going to start seeing it pop up regardless of whether it's comments or content, so to speak. So that would be my other advice as well, just be active member.
Yeah, becoming a valued member of a community, 100%. Because for the most part, the way I see groups is like, and there's some exceptions to it. I think Spencer in the affiliate marketing space, I think Spencer has some really good regulars in his group who answer questions and stuff like that. But I think this is an opportunity twofold. One, if you actually become someone that's helpful in that space, it's going to be appreciated by the person that runs it, for one. And that would get you on their radar, right? If that's someone you wanted to do an interview with down the track, right? But people don't think this way. They don't think like, oh, I want to interview so-and-so, but I probably can't just approach them. But maybe if I get, active in their group and I get in front of them and I'm helpful, that can happen down the track, right? Start trying to think a couple of steps ahead of the game. And I'm not having a go at you, Ina. I'm talking generally, right? So you could get on the radar of someone who you look up to and potentially get an interview with them, or, at least open the door to a messenger conversation or something that, maybe wouldn't have happened previously. And you just never know where that might come from. right? And then the same thing, like if you're genuinely being active on a lot of posts and providing helpful stuff and all that kind of thing, the people that are in that community are going to see you more and more rather than you being like people do it all the time. They come in, they drop a post in my group. They've never commented on anything. I've never seen them before. They never, even if it does get some engagement, they never come back to respond to it, right? It's like a seagull flying by, taking a shit, and then they keep going, right? And they're like, oh, it got no engagement. Yeah, of course it got no engagement, right? Do you think people are stopping to look at that? Jamie's
lost it.
I've broken Jamie.
It's so accurate, though.
So that's why we talk about the 5-group strategy, like narrowing in on a small group of community, on a small group of groups that you can become, a contributor to, right? If 5's too many, do one. Start with one if you want. Like, if there's one that's active enough, make it one. But I think groups typically aren't active to the point that if you put a little bit of time in your calendar each day to be active in communities, I think you could do a couple, at least 2 or 3. And I think anyone that, again, this comes back to what we talk about. Look at what everyone else is doing and do the opposite. Most people are seagulling the groups. Become the valued member. And I think you'd get on the radar of the person running the group, and you'll get on the radar of the active members because they'll see you popping up time and time and time again, right? But you're going to need to do something to stand out, right? Like you need to answer, really helpful responses to questions or contribute like genuinely valuable resources that are congruent with what the owner of the group is trying to achieve. So you'd have to be strategic about it, which is going to take effort. And that's why most people, go the seagull approach. But hopefully that helps. Good question.
Just to add to that, when you post in a couple of groups as well, they're usually going to be similar types of groups. And people are going to be in potentially 2 or 3 or 4 groups you're posting in. So there's a bit of the compound effect takes place because they see you in a couple of different groups. So they're not effectively seeing you twice. It feels like more than that because you're in these different groups. They're like, see this guy everywhere, this girl. So,
yeah, I had a few that I rotated when I was getting mine off the ground. I rotated between, there was a dude in the scene who's no longer around. Spencer's. Dan Frigo had a group that he was happy for me to post in, and then the Avengers group as well because that's where I was starting to develop some credibility. And I'd post in there semi-regularly. The other thing too is most of the posts that people are dropping are very generic, right? They're these generic, airy-fairy, so again, opportunity there. If you find cool stuff or genuinely helpful stuff that's congruent with what the group's about, right? Like if you find a cool software tool or a little hack for Facebook or like actually actionable stuff, that's going to get attention more so than, the crap that you all see. And honestly, I'm at the point where if someone posts generic shit in my group, I delete it. And if they do it twice, I delete it and delete them.
Shit the seagull.
Yeah. And I send them a seagull gif just to confuse them.
Chicken has no chill.
Some hot chips.
Oh man, I feel like chips now.
Chops. All right.
Chops.
So let's circle back to this. Let me knock this out of the way. Let me get this off my chest. So this is something people, talk a lot about, getting ghosted, either before the pitch, and before the pitch would be like you're trying to build some kind of connection with people. During might be like during a diagnostic phase or during the call booking process or whatever it is that you're doing, right? Like you're down to business. They might disappear in that phase or after, right? You make an offer. You maybe make an offer to get on a call. You maybe make an offer to buy something. You send them a link, either a sales document or a sales page or even a checkout link. At that point, people can disappear because they get scared and they're, for some reason, they freak out at spending money or whatever. But, it can happen at any point is the reality of it. That's fucking awesome. You see Carl's comment.
Yeah.
It's the HUS framework.
HUS. There's something in that. I'm going to screenshot that. I like that, Carl. Hunting unicorns and shooting seagulls. Holy shit, I like that.
An autobiography by Jacob Caris.
That's got me. So I think what I want to say to start is there's never going to be a time in your career online where this doesn't happen, right? Like this happens to me on the daily. So just accept the fact that it's a part of life. I have friends that fucking ghost me. Like, what do you expect a stranger to do? Right? Like, I've had friends people get busy. I've got friends that I've known for 20 years and I send them a message and I don't get a reply. And then 2 weeks later, they'll be like, oh yeah, sorry, bro. Now, look, maybe I've got some questionable friends, which is highly possible, but you get my point, right? Like, these are people who actually know you, have met you in the real world, hopefully to some degree care about your well-being. And they can disappear because, they've probably got, kids running around. They've got a job. Like, they've got a million things on the go. Of course it's going to happen, right? Like, it's such a surprise to people. But we just got to get on with it. Thankfully, there's quite a few billions of people in the world. And we don't need that many of them to be able to live pretty well. So just understand that it's part of it and don't take it personally. So let's start rolling through these. The first one is content and you're pre-selling effectively to generate inbound leads, right? Now, this is one that I would encourage you to go check out. I did a training, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Let me see if I can pull it up. Jamie, do you want to talk about this one real quick? Or Chris, do you want to talk about this one real quick while I pull up that training and link folks?
I zoned out.
Good.
Content and pre
Helpful. You're sacked. Yeah, Chris can talk about it. Chris, talk to people about pre-selling with your content.
Yeah, I mean, so pre-selling really is sort of framing yourself before you're talking to the messenger. You don't want to be getting them cold and messenger and then they're like, hey, you get stuck in spinning the wheels and just chit chat. You don't want to grease the wheels, and you do that by framing. So pre-selling them with your content is just going to make that conversation much more easy within Messenger. It also helps to build the attraction marketing side of things. The more good content you put out that resonates with your audience, talks about their pain points, sells a solution to them, paints a picture, future paces them towards what they can achieve, the more likely they are to come to you in Messenger or like your stuff on Facebook. And then when you get them into Messenger, you've got more scope with them straight from the start without having to go into the how's the weather, what do you do day to day? Are you a seagull? Do you fly? I mean, that's the core part of it, is really just making sure that you're framing yourself as either an authority figure, or if you're just starting out, don't bullshit. Don't say that you're going to make people 100 grand a year. Just say it as Russell Brunson calls it, be the reporter. So say what you're doing, what you're progressing with. If you've seen Jacob's content lately, he's been posting these win threads that are just awesome. So post every little win you have every day. And it positions you as a positive person who's going after something, that's chasing a dream. And it really has a really, it catches people really attached to that. And they see you in a positive light. So really go after the wins and post everything that you're copying and doing before you get to Messenger, because that's where the conversation really is going to be more fluid for you. You don't want to be stuck in Messenger. The number of people I speak to that say that the hardest part is getting the offer out their mouth to the other person. How many people on this call, for example, could say that they struggle at the point of saying, here's the thing I've got, do you want to buy it? because you don't want to frame it like that. And that's all done in your content by pre-selling a solution to someone. So they already know kind of what you're offering and see you as the person. And there's a no like and trust factor. And they believe that you can provide that solution for them because of the content you've put in front of them before. That's brought them into that messenger conversation.
Yeah. I'll give you guys an example. Let me pull, go Jamie, and I'll pull something up.
Now that I've refocused, what I was going to say as well is, and something Chris actually mentioned there as well, is if you are putting out content that resonates, that strikes a chord, that, as he mentioned, in terms of the wins, they will see that. They'll be like, shit, yeah, this person's positive. I want a piece of that. But what it effectively does is, we've talked about being in a state of alpha a lot of the time in a sales dynamic, but because they've been absorbing that content, because they've seen the stuff that you're putting out, they're like, this person's legit. They seem to make sense. It means that they, technically speaking, are already slightly more open to the idea of potentially being pitched along the way. It means that you don't need to fight for that positioning in the sales dynamics, so to speak.
The Spider-Man meme.
So this is just a quick example of what Chris is kind of talking about, right? Like, and this is a very deliberate what I do, what I stand for kind of approach. Typically, it's going to be a lot more subtle than this, and it's going to be baked into a story, or it's going to be baked into you pulling out a pain point or talking about a goal or whatever. But it's always worth trying different things, and this isn't a type of post I've done before, which is literally just like, I get questions in my inbox from people who can't read my profile every day saying, what do you do? And I also get, whenever I meet people offline, they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't know. Sell stuff. So I was like, oh, that could be interesting. But again, this pre-frames, this pre-sells, right? It pre-frames what I do, the outcomes I provide, what I help people with, what I stand for, what I don't stand for, my view of the world, all that kind of stuff, right? So help people take what they know, are really good at, or burning passion for, and monetize the shit out of it with digital information products by building their own ecosystem, right? Pretty clear in a nutshell. Either with their own products or as an affiliate. This is our goal. And then it's a few about like what I believe in, right? I think mindset's important, but I don't go so far as to think it's going to do everything for you. You got to do the work. I feel like offers are underrated. I help people simplify this stuff. My view is, start with one thing and add layers over time, as opposed to having, tons of complexity. Then I get into, who I like working with, who I don't like working with. And just wrap it up with kind of a, my belief is the internet marketing landscape's full of hot air. So be proud of your successes. And this is really congruent. If they read this and then they scroll down, they're going to see, at the moment especially, I'm absolutely pumping out the results and the testimonials and the wins and stuff, right? So there's a few things going on here, right? It's like it's telling people what I do. It's telling them what I stand for. It's in a relatively direct manner. If this is an attractive outcome for them, it might be something of interest. I may even try pinning this to the top of I think you can pin posts on your profile now, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I may even pin this to the top of the profile, and then if I get messages from people going, what do you do? I can just go, well, read it. So that's pre-framing and pre-selling. That's the reason I pulled that up, is I posted that 12 hours ago. So,
But those are infectious. The wins ones are really infectious. And you see that if you look at any of the ones that Jacob's been posting. People are like, man, I'm loving seeing this positivity, all these results. People just can't believe the amount and the volume that comes through as well. Because when they sit and think about the wins they've had, they probably can't come up with many. So they immediately see you as someone that's successful and someone they want to imitate or emulate even.
Imitation happens.
A lot.
Sincerest form of flattery, isn't it?
That's what they say.
Sincerest, I'm not sure that's the right word. Yeah, so, and that's an example. Those wins are, that's an example again of, I saw a big problem with
when I was you can always get a read, and maybe it's because we've been doing this for so many years now that I get a good pulse on it pretty quickly. But you flick through your feed and you see trends. Every third post will be something similar. Are you a high ticket affiliate marketer who struggles with bleh? All right, here's my memoir about something I've not done. Right. And it's just hot air after hot air after hot air after hot air. And it's like, okay, if everyone's talking fluff, what's the opposite? Real shit, real world stuff that's happened or is happening or is going to happen. And watch what'll happen. More and more people are going to start doing these kind of things. You'll see it. It'll happen. And then you need to move again, and you move again, and you move again. And this is why we say there's no perfect linear path to all this. You need to be constantly observing and reacting and staying on your toes. And this was why we did the live the other day about content modes as well. One, so that you can fit them into your lifestyle. But two, if you've got a couple of modes up your sleeve, it lets you kind of be nimble and move depending on what is happening around the place. So that yours is always a bit different to the other stuff. Okay. Cool. But yeah, I've linked a training we did on pre-selling that deep dives some fundamentals of that. So if you haven't looked at that, I would recommend that you do. Number two, NIR, nothing in return, building a real connection and relationship first. There's two ways you can go about selling stuff on Facebook. You could either take, and I'm not going to say one's right and one's wrong. It depends on your style and it depends on how thick your skin is. We've had people be very successful with that long-term relationship building approach. We've also had people be very successful with a hard-nosed first message pitch approach. And it may not be like, here's my link to buy, but it's like, here's what I do. Here's how I think I can help you. Do you want to have a chat about it? Mm-hmm. Right. And honestly, I know Jamie and Chris have used both at times. I've used both at times. Like, it just depends. They both work, right? We typically in here and in the training talk more about the relationship building approach. But one thing we've always said as well is if you're a really like timid person who you know you're going to be, you struggle putting an offer in front of people, I would encourage you to go the other way for a little while and massively push yourself out of the comfort zone and be really direct, because a few things are going to happen. You're going to piss people off. You're probably going to get flamed a little bit. You're going to generate some conversations that go somewhere, and you're going to get over the fear of pitching, because then when you start to normalize back more to making that offer to people who you've actually built a relationship with, it's going to be really fucking easy. So I think it's like, it's like the Goldilocks and the porridge. You got to find like the right temperature. If you're really scared of making offers, push yourself out of the comfort zone, go the other way, and you'll end up back at somewhere in the middle.
Just on that point, because you realize that the worst scenario is not actually that bad.
No.
I just steal Jacob's line. Jacob's used this analogy before. It's kind of like a big meter, and on one side you've got good and bad, for example, and or comfort and discomfort. And if you're pushing more to one side, eventually it's going to find this equilibrium in the middle.
Yeah, that's spot on. But I think typically the better approach is the longer ride, building up that pipeline. Having an understanding of who your hot leads are, who your warm leads are, who your cold leads are. Maybe you run some kind of CRM based on what phase of the conversation they're at. If you're running a CRM, I wouldn't recommend you dump everything into it. I've seen people try and put like every lead in their CRM, which is just crazy. It's like garbage in, garbage out. Start with putting your most qualified, closest to the purchase point in your CRM, and then slowly work back from there. Because then if you come online, it's like, all right, I'm like this close to the finish line with 15 prospects, I'm going to go and engage in their stuff, or I'm going to move that conversation forward. They're going to get my immediate attention. And then I go, okay, I've engaged with all them. Let's take the next step back. Who am I kind of in the process of talking to that's like, we're moving towards a pitch or we're moving towards a call. We're in that middle phase. They're warmer, right? Maybe they've engaged with some of your stuff. You've asked a couple of questions. You're in that back and forth. They're your warmer people. Then go there, right? One thing I'll pull up real quick is just remember, and I used this yesterday in the live that I did, but remember there's a customer journey and that is a real thing, right? People get really pissed off if someone doesn't, go from cold to sold in 3.5 minutes these days. And the reality is the customer journey is taking longer, right? More sophisticated market, more options, all of that kind of stuff. People are more skeptical, more crooks out there, it's taking longer. So, respect that it's a real thing and understand this kind of flow at least. And it's simple, but I think people forget it, right? Understand how you first connect with people, right? Either they see your profile from you adding them or them adding you. They join your group from Facebook recommending it. Then maybe they end up in your profile, right? You get connected in some way. Then a percentage of them, not everyone you get connected with is going to start seeing your content. That's just how the algorithm works. Some of them, I should say a percentage, will start consuming your content. And that's how you can start building a relationship and pre-selling with leverage, because you don't have to do it one-to-one. Posts, live stories, lead magnets, all that kind of jazz. A percentage of them you'll connect directly with, right? Either you will outbound them or they'll outbound you. Rapport is built over time. With a combination of content and conversation. A diagnosis is done of problems and solution of their problems, and if a solution is available, then it can be presented either on a call or a messenger. The sale is closed and you rinse and repeat. Just keep in mind that this customer journey is a real thing, right? And it can happen in a day. It can happen in 24 months, right? I've had people come back after 2 years of being in my group and go, oh yeah, now's the time, right? It can happen at any point.
I'm closing leads now that I spoke to in like 2018, before SA was even a thing. Like it's
yeah. So just be conscious of this. This is a real thing, and just because a sale doesn't happen on the spot, it doesn't mean you're never gonna close the deal, I guess. Delivering value in advance, get some reciprocity going on. Again, if you go look over in my group, I think what people are constituting as value these days is weak as piss. So one thing I'm doing in my group is I'm literally mapping out like our whole framework with very, very valuable lives. Like I'm not giving the farm away, but it's not like just airy fairy crap. To give it, because if people take your free stuff and get a result with it, that's a good metric to then go, oh well, if I bought something, it'd be pretty good.
Just on that point as well, that's one of Cialdini's from the book Influence. That's one of the core things he talks about, reciprocity. So when you give to someone, they have a natural tendency to feel they want to reciprocate and give back to you, i.e. buy from you, consume more of your stuff and follow you. So the more value you can give them, the more they want to give something back to you, which usually results in them seeing a product they might want to buy and coming to you and saying, hey, are you an affiliate for this, or do you sell this? Can I get your link?
Yeah. And I know what people are going to be sitting there thinking, going, oh, I'm a beginner. That would never happen. And I can tell you that you're categorically wrong. because the amount of emails we get to support saying, hey, I've been talking to Sally, and it'll be Sally's first sale, right? And it will say, please make sure Sally gets the commission. She's helped me out so much. If you do that for people, they don't care about, am I an Aaron or am I a Blake, right? They don't care. If you're genuinely being helpful, it overcomes that. And that's not to say there's not going to be some assholes out there who'll take your free information and then go and buy off someone else. That happens too. But, welcome to the real world, right? Like, but it is a real thing, this reciprocity. Tactically, item 4 here, make sure you're getting permission to pitch. And then this honor code question is something we've been playing around with. And it's like, before you send over a doc or a video or what, or even a calendar link, I guess you could use it for. It's just saying, awesome, once I drop it over, let me know if you're kind of in or out or have any questions, right? And getting a confirmation on that before you send the actual thing. It's just like another layer of confirmation before you send the thing. And that way they've verbally committed to getting back to you. It's got some quite good positioning in it too, because what usually happens is the second someone gets the green light to send a link, they're like bombing it into the messenger. But if someone gives you the green light on it and you still ask a couple of like confirmation questions just to make sure they're comfortable and that you're both on the same page, it's actually quite unique. But make sure you're getting, don't rush through it. Make sure you're getting kind of permission along the way to send stuff over and seek confirmation that they'll get back to you, all of those kind of things. It's totally cool. If people get the shits about that, then probably not going to buy anyway.
I think with that one, it's people don't like saying no. They would rather ghost because they experience something called cognitive dissonance. And so if you can give them full permission, like, hey, listen, it's okay. It's okay to say no. I prefer it. Like, you're not going to offend me. Don't worry. If it's not for you, don't worry. Because at that point, you're giving them the out if they choose it, which then means they're more likely to respond as well, rather than just kind of ghosting you.
Just one other thing to add. Oren Claff talks about this in Pitch Anything, but there's an element of the prize frame there. So it's like you're not just spamming in the link because you've got commission breath. There's an element of, look, I'm not wanting to just give you a link. You need to promise that you're going to look at it. You're actually going to value what I'm offering you here. This is an opportunity. So you're kind of holding it back from them. The chances are if they're talking to you and they're going to be interested in the link, they really want to see what you've got. They want to click that link and they want to read the sales page or whatever you've got to show them. So by holding off and asking that question, you're kind of guarding it a little bit and getting them to promise to actually appreciate it for what it is. All quite subconsciously, of course, but the honor code question really helps with that as well. And then there's an element of the status someone holds. If they think they're someone who is good to their word and they're that kind of thing, if they promise or they say, yeah, I'm going to come back and confirm whether I'm in, out, or have questions, then if that's part of their identity, they feel the need to go follow through with that, basically. If you don't get that, there's every chance they could just dodge out of it and still feel they're true to their word because they never promised anything. So it has a lot of power.
The other, just a real life case study of why it's important getting permission to pitch is, if for those of you that have been in the community for a couple of weeks, if you recall, Jacob had this thing where he reached out to someone who was local, just a connection, just, hey, see, we're in a similar thing. And basically it's like, so what are your 90-day goals? Like, and it was just, there's no permission to pitch. So what do you think Jacob's going to do? He's going to ghost the dude. Like, there's got no reason to interact with him because he's just kind of blindly come in and pitch him, right? And so he's like, no, I wouldn't respond to that. I'd just probably block the dude or whatever, right? Like, so again, it's really important to make sure that you are seeking that permission to go down that pathway with someone.
Yeah, I think that's good stuff. Targeted engagement, right? If you're this kind of ties back to what we were talking about before in terms of the people you've got in your CRM and the people that are on your watch list or whatever. But if there's people you're waiting on a response from, go and give them some love, right? You'd be surprised. You go and engage on their stuff. They see your name pop up. Oh, shit. a lot of people are assholes in this world, but not everyone is. Jamie's teaching me that. So funny. I'm like the glass, like this is empty. And Jamie's like, no, that's full.
I've got the rose-colored glasses on. Hang on, give me a sec.
But yeah, not everyone does it on purpose. We do genuinely get busy, and whatever. But if you and this happens to me, I'm like, oh shit, I see someone engage with something. I'm like, oh shit, I meant to reply to them. So targeted engagement, right? If there's someone you're waiting on a response from, go give them some love. Go reply to one of their stories. Go to engage in one of their posts, because you're stroking their ego, because they put that thing out there wanting a response from people. You know, especially if you do it with not just like a generic reply, right? Like if you do it and actually put some thought into the response, that can prompt people to hit you back, right? The people that you are in your conversation are like, yeah, just send me the link so I can, get rid of you. Then no, they probably won't. But the legitimate ones who have just gotten busy and life's gotten in the way, you can prompt a reply from. And that ties into this. Talk about stuff that's relevant to them, right? Like if the conversation's kind of gone along and then maybe it's fizzled out, you can bring it back by talking about something that's relevant to them, aka something they've posted, right? Let's touch on 8 and then circle back to 7. Follow up relentlessly, right? That's up to you how far you want to take it, based on how busy you are, how much the lead's worth to you, how much energy you've got for it, all that kind of stuff. But how'd you go with the video? To start there and then start sending. You can send a GIF, you can send a whatever, like just mix it up.
Just on that one as well, depending on how much time you've got, and I guess what your sort of level of clout is within your own audience. Someone like Jacob probably wouldn't have to do this, but for a lot of people, what you need to do is a disarmament. And so a lot of the time, if say, for example, you send a video to someone or a doc or whatever, and they haven't had the time to read it, or they haven't made it a priority in order to read it, to watch it, whatever, there's a probability if you just jump straight back in Messenger, hey, how'd you go with the video? They're like, fuck, I've been meaning to get back to that. Shit. So therefore they think, well, I can't. They don't want to confess that they haven't done the thing that they said they're going to do. So that's another reason why they ghost you. So if you disarm that, and that's quite simply like, hey, how's your week been? Hey, really liked your post on XYZ. Dropping a GIF sometimes helps, something that's has a sense of humor behind it. And so you're trying to remove the conversation away from going straight into business stuff. And again, it's different for different people. Like I say, Jacob may not need to do these types of things just because of the level of clout he's got within his audience. But for most of us, we probably have to disarm that first before then immediately. And literally, if you get them talking like, oh, yeah, thanks so much, that's great, yeah. Well, hey, I noticed it's coming into summer over your way. Looks like it's really amazing. How's it all going? Great, thanks. Hey, by the way, just followed up. Wanted to follow up as you get a chance to watch the video. Oh, no, I haven't yet. Okay, cool. When do you think you're going to get time? So on and so forth. Also, to follow up relentlessly, a case in point for this, for myself recently, where it was someone who was rather, and I normally wouldn't answer questions quite the way I did with this particular person because they were somewhat demanding about the information that they wanted. But I entertained the idea because we'd had a pretty good banter, good back and forth for quite some time, to the point where he basically said, hey, I'm coming back from holiday. I'll have a look at the information tomorrow, I think it was. And so this is, let's say, late June, 20-something of June, 23rd or whatever. And so I've followed up in that time frame. So round about just shy of a month, 3 weeks, whatever. Not based on this is based on the time frame that he gave me, not the other way around, right? Like I wasn't just pestering for the sake of it. He said, I'll get back tomorrow, I'll have a look at it then, I'll follow up the next day. And so I was casually just following up, didn't get a response to the point where I just got pissed off. And this is probably like a Hail Mary. I would always put this out, but I just kind of lost my shit. And I said, it's pretty disrespectful given you had like 500 fucking questions, dude. Just, a simple no thanks would have done. And he got back to me. So, but that's I don't know if you necessarily need to go down that pathway, but I kind of I lost my patience on that particular occasion. It's just like a Hail Mary to throw out there.
Very good. Now, 7. How do you teach this? I feel like...
How do you define it? Let's do that first.
Good question.
Hang on, there's a can of worms. I'm just going to open it up real quick.
I'm not going to say the opposite of weird is normal because I don't think people should try and be normal. I think normal is boring as fuck. But just think before you hit send. Think, how is this going to be read? There's another person on the... I know it's hard. I know we lose sight of the fact that there's another person on the end of that messenger because it's all, all the crazy technology that the kids are using. But think, how is this going to be received? Some of the messages that I get, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, how have you got to this point in your life and not been hit by a car or something? Like, if this is what you're saying in a message to another human being, how do you dress yourself in the morning, right? Like, it's not hard. Okay, it probably is for some people, but just
love it.
Just chill, right? Like,
chill, Winston.
If you need to have a glass of wine before you start talking to people to relax a little bit, just chill out. Just be cool. Maybe cool is a better word, not normal. Just like be cool. Be cool.
Maybe have less glasses of wine before you talk to some people for some others.
Yeah, there's you maybe one, but not like 3 bottles. I don't even know how to explain this. It's just communicate and interact and have fun as if you would with your best friend, right? As if you guys were sitting down for coffee, if you guys were catching up for a beer. It's not that hard. Like, it should say be a human, but unfortunately I don't think that does it sufficiently because that's a pretty murky term.
We could reword it in a way to say, don't freak people out. Don't scare people on the first fucking message. Which
kind of contradicts the thing I said earlier about throwing that Hail Mary at
You can be a weirdo at the last kick if there's not working. Leave that for later. Don't start with
I don't think that's being a weirdo.
It's not.
I don't think that... Actually... I need to be careful what I say here.
That one there...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, being intense. So Daisy's question there, all up in your face all the time. So, I don't know if anyone's experienced this where you accept a friend request or something and they'll immediately try and video call you. Doesn't matter what time of day or night it is. It's like, who the fuck are you? I don't know who you are, bro. Like, it's just that there. Things like that. Like, clearly, I'm pretty sure we all won't be doing that in this community, but those types of things are just like really up in someone's grill. Like, it's you're going to repel your audience in a massive way.
Yeah, like, this isn't relevant to selling, but I got a message the other day from someone near on demanding
that I create a video on a specific topic with like 17 question marks. And I'm like, you have no chance. I am never giving you a second. Question marks are like, you're dead to me. If you send me more than one question mark, good luck in your life. Good luck. We're done. I cannot handle. It's like, I get it. It's a question. You don't need to use 12. It was like, it literally said like, it didn't even say, hey, Jacob. It was like, make a training on insert very specific topic that clearly they want help with. And then like 8 question marks. And I'm like, you're dead. You're gone.
It's like Yoda speak. Make a training, you will.
Just be normal. It's not normal. I can't use that word. It's like the opposite. Just be cool. Like fuck yeah, cool is the best one. I think cool is the best one. Like
try and be chill.
Yeah.
Whatever that means to you, as best you can.
Yeah. Just be chill and then follow the framework. And put your own language around it. You know? Like however you speak. But don't use 10 question marks.
Authentic. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to
think before you hit send, think, okay, there's another human being on the other side of this. How are they going to read this? Right? They're going about their day, right? Like I typically check my messenger when I wake up and I'll respond to the ones that I can get to and whatever. And I saw this and it was like week ruined. For some reason, question marks are like my kryptonite. Because I just think it's rude. Like I think it's blatantly rude. It's not hard to just push it once. I get it. It's a fucking question. Just think, how's this going to be interpreted by the person on the other end? You know? That's all I got on
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. Like it's so like accusatory. Like if I was having a go at someone and I wanted an answer out of them, I'd be like, but not like someone that I'm asking for help or a favor. You know, it's like, hey mate, can you help me move? No, dead. Not helping you move.
Yeah, move yourself.
Yeah.
Move you to a grave.
Yeah. Anyway, they're the main ones. I think if you do a combination of those and always aim to get better at that stuff, you should mitigate the number of people ghosting you. But like I said, it's never gonna be perfect. Yeah.
One other bonus tactic is you can just drop a gift of a ghost. This is from Andrew Cruzy. I think he started to talk that originally. That can work. Like, no, are you ghosting me? It's a little bit desperate. Use with caution. But
the one I hate is first name question mark. See people hit me with that.
Yeah.
I just ignore that. That's never
the worst one I've ever seen is "Did you die?" I read that and I'm like, oh, you're a loser.
I won the other day and
I replied with yes.
Yeah. I am deceased. I won the other day and like I was on one of these types of calls, and so I read the message, put my phone down, and 40 minutes later got, well, I can't help you if you're not going to respond. I was like, fuck off. Like I'm, even if you're
and that's the other thing. Time zones are a real thing. People do live in places other than America. Like not everyone is on the same time zone. The amount of times I wake up to like a 2 a.m. and a 4 a.m. and a 6 a.m. and it's like, why aren't you replying to me? And it's like, well, like most normal people, I'm asleep. You know? So time zones are a real thing, and I would encourage you to, especially if you've got a hot prospect, know what time zone they're in, so that you're not messaging them at 2, 4, and 6 a.m. going, why aren't you giving me the attention that I need?
25 question marks.
I feel like I'm just going to start getting question mark messages from a lot of people now. After
Yeah, everyone's just going to bombard your inbox. Just
that's what I'd do if I heard someone else going on a rant like this.
Don't send PayPal money ever, ever, ever. We hate it.
PayPal money.
Honest. It's like that Friends episode where was the first episode when was it Rachel saying that Ross is saying he wants to get married, and then comes Rachel in the wedding dress, and then Chandler goes, "I won $1 million." Look at her.
I remember that.
One of the very first Friends episodes. It's like they do a flashback from like a later episode. It's not actually at the start of Friends, but it's one of those where they're doing a flashback. Quite funny. First time they meet Rachel.
Anyway, that's what we've got for you today. I think that should help you out. My headphones are about to go flat, so I'm going to be sitting over here not being able to hear anybody. And then I will be leaving question marks because I won't know what's going on. So we might wrap it up. Appreciate you all hopping on. We've got a couple more of these scheduled over like every kind of 2 weeks for a little while on just topics that I think would be relevant to you all. So to the folks that have showed up, thank you. I appreciate it. You're clearly wanting to keep improving, so good on you. Anything else? Cool. All right. We'll wrap it up. And a subset of us or all of us will be back next week. We'll see how we go.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
See you later,
Don't be a
folks.
seagull. Boy.
Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you got a lot out of that video, right? If you're in the Facebook organic marketing game, another really, really important thing to understand is what we call the customer journey, all right? This is how people go from cold to sold, and the messenger stuff that we just covered is just one part of it, all right? There's a lot of other moving components that you need to understand. So what I'd encourage you to do is check out this next video, where it's going to break down from A to Z how people go from cold to sold on Facebook. All right, click that link, check out that next video, and I know you're going to get a lot out of that as well, and it was going to very nicely complement the stuff that we've covered today. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.